Warning: spoilers for WandaVision, episodes 1 through 6, as well as events from previous films of the Marvel Cinematic Universe, are included in this video. The 6th episode of WandaVision was just released on Disney Plus last Friday, and I finally fully realized what the show is really all about. I believe, underneath the surface, WandaVision is about grief and learning to accept the loss of people we love and move on. Obviously, the show is centered around Wanda, who has a lot of mental issues she needs to address.
Are you okay?
I'm fine.
She's severely traumatized by multiple tragic events in her past, which is why this whole entire charade of Westview even exists. She's either completely unwilling or unable to accept the circumstances of her reality, so she created an entirely false one. Instead of dealing with her sorrow, she buried it underneath an entirely fictitious life. Wanda's existence in Westview is her ideal vision of a perfectly normal and happy life, hence the title of the show, WandaVision. Now, I know there are many theories out there that speculate there's a larger, more evil force at play, manipulating Wanda and controlling her actions. While the presence of some ominous puppeteer is yet to be revealed, I do believe there's a good chance this is true. But either way, the reason Wanda is so willing to believe and get lost in this false reality is due to her refusal to accept the truth and deal with her sorrow. That's why, whenever Wanda is asked about the past, it's too difficult for her to recall.
Our story.
I think what my wife means to say is that we moved from...
Moved from where? Married when?
Or, in the case of Monica Rambeau, when she brings up one of the key tragic events of Wanda's past.
He was killed by Ultron, wasn't he?
Wanda forcefully removes her from Westview. Wanda's grief hasn't exactly been a hidden element of the show. In fact, a few of the characters have even directly acknowledged it. When describing her experience of being inside Westview, Rambeau explains there was a feeling of hopelessness keeping her down, like she was drowning in grief. In the same episode, Hayward also states that Wanda was acting out of grief when she stole Vision's body from S.W.O.R.D headquarters. But where is this grief coming from that's buried deep within Wanda? What is this hidden trauma that she's so unable to cope with that she's built an entire fantasy land to hide in? If you're not familiar with the MCU, you may not know the answers to these questions. In order to understand Wanda's suppressed sorrow, we need to know about her past. So let's rewind it back to Wanda's origin story. Wanda and her twin brother Pietro grew up in the war-torn country of Sokovia. They suffered their first significant tragedy when they were 10. Two bombshells, which happened to be manufactured by Stark Industries, struck their apartment building, causing it to collapse. Their parents were killed in the explosion, but the twins survived and were trapped under the rubble for 2 days. Wanda's second major tragedy occurred during the events of Avengers: Age of Ultron. While fighting alongside the Avengers, Wanda's twin brother Pietro was shot down in the street and killed by Ultron. Needless to say, this caused Wanda a huge amount of emotional distress. Pietro was the closest person to Wanda throughout her entire life. The two of them had an inseparable bond. I also believe that twins have a very special connection that no one really understands, and the fact that Wanda has telepathic powers only magnified that connection. On top of that, Pietro was the last living member of Wanda's family, so you can only imagine how lonely she felt after his death.
If you stay here, you'll die.
I just did.
Wanda's third major tragedy took place during the climax of Avengers: Infinity War. During her time with the Avengers, Wanda developed a close and intimate relationship with Vision. In order to prevent Thanos from collecting all 6 Infinity Stones and wiping out half the universe, she was forced to destroy the Mind Stone in Vision's forehead, thus killing him. If that wasn't difficult enough, that whole sacrifice turned out to be a failure, since Thanos was able to reverse time, allowing him to bring Vision back to life, only to remove the Mind Stone from his forehead himself, which killed Vision yet again. So Wanda actually witnessed the death of her love twice. Now, these are just 3 of the major tragedies that occurred throughout Wanda's life. There are actually a few more significant events that are part of her sorrowful past. Just to quickly mention them, Her home country was completely obliterated. She was experimented on by an evil authoritarian organization. She accidentally blew up a building full of innocent people, which helped create turmoil within the Avengers and contributed to the team's subsequent division. And she even disappeared for 5 years due to Thanos' snap. Taking all that into consideration, you can see why Wanda is so traumatized, and how she's having so much trouble coping with reality. I mean, that's a lot for a person to handle. The late great Stan Lee has often said the reason people love Marvel characters so much is because they're so relatable. Despite having all these incredible superpowers, they still have ordinary problems that average people deal with on a daily basis. Spider-Man has incredible strength, reflexes, and can easily swing from building to building through the streets of New York. But at the end of the day, he's still just a kid trying to get through high school and make ends meet. The X-Men have all sorts of amazing abilities, but they have to fight just to fit in and be accepted by the outside world. After all these years, Marvel's still keeping up with this indelible theme. Wanda is undoubtedly one of the MCU's most powerful heroes. Yet, despite the enormous amount of power she wields, she still struggles with her mental health. Her fantastic abilities do not make her exempt from depression, loneliness, or grief. She has to learn how to deal with these issues just like everyone else. And that's something I believe needs to happen. Before this season of WandaVision is over, or at least sometime in the future of the MCU, Wanda will eventually need to come to grips with reality in order to grow. That includes accepting the loss of her brother Pietro and Vision and learning how to move on without them. This means she will probably eventually have to let go of the current versions of these two characters within Westview, which will be a pivotal point in her current character arc. She already understands this is the correct way to deal with the loss of a loved one. After the death of Sparky, the family dog, she even explains to her sons, "We can't reverse death, no matter how sad it makes us. Some things are forever." She also tells them not to accelerate their aging because she doesn't want them to run away from sorrow the way she ran away from hers. She wants her sons to properly grieve, the way she is currently unable to herself. So how is Wanda going to overcome her grief? I have no idea how the show is going to end, but I do know it is Monica Rambeau's intention to help her. She clearly sympathizes with Wanda, while director Hayward views her as a dangerous threat that needs to be taken out. The fact that Rambeau recently experienced the loss of her own mother lets her understand, at least on some level, the grief that Wanda's feeling. Also, I'm not sure what exactly is going on with Evan Peters' Pietro. I don't know if this is really the Quicksilver from the X-Men universe, or if it's some sort of manifestation of Wanda's consciousness, or if it's a completely different character in disguise. But this figure does seem to be helping Wanda properly grieve. In the most recent episode, she actually started opening up during conversations with Pietro. She acknowledged her manipulating the people of Westview, and even expressed her feelings of sadness and loneliness, which is definitely a step in the right direction of facing her issues. As I said, I have no idea how the show's going to end, but I'm definitely excited to see where it goes. I'm sure we're in for at least a few more wild surprises before it's all over. Before I end this video, I'd like to add a few quick things on a lighter note. First off, I wonder who Monica Rambeau's contact is. She mentions a aerospace engineer that would be up for the challenge in episode 5. Then, in episode 6, we last see Rambeau and Wu leaving the S.W.O.R.D camp to meet up with him. Reed Richards, perhaps? Or is it someone else? Also, WandaVision is full of Easter eggs and meticulously placed clues, but Agent Wu doing this card trick is one of my favorite references in the show so far, because he saw Scott Lang do the trick back in Ant-Man and the Wasp, and wanted to learn how to do it himself.
I learned that. How'd you do it, Scott?
Do what?
The card trick.
Seriously?
Later on in the movie, he's even seen practicing the trick in his office, while watching an online class for a close-up magic university, which is pretty hilarious. Anyway, I'm glad he was able to learn the trick. And finally, another one of my favorite subtle references is this little nod to the movie Kick-Ass.
Yeah, kick ass.
I feel the need.
Bust me. Ow! Kick ass.
This is especially noteworthy since Aaron Taylor Johnson, who was the original Pietro in the MCU, played the part of Kick-Ass. But not only that, Evan Peters, who plays the X-Men's version of Pietro, which is the same character that's now in WandaVision, was also in Kick-Ass. Alright, that's all I got for now. So what do you think about the show so far? Feel free to share your thoughts and theories in the comment section below. And if you enjoyed this video, please like, share, and subscribe. Thanks for watching. Until next time, peace out.